I didn't even think of where I was going to be dropping here. This is just a thing. I was originally going to pick Aang to play as because I just played as Korra, but honestly, I prefer the Toph skin. Honestly, I think of all of the Avatar skins, I think Aang's two skins are. I don't like them. Like they are my least favorites of them. Like I love the Zuko. The Zuko looks great. The Toph is phenomenal. The Korra is probably my favorite. The Aang isn't bad. It's just like I don't know. I've never been the biggest fan of the comic designs, which is what they are going for. They aren't going for the show designs, which is like fine. Like you can do whatever you want, but like you know, it's just weird because it's not exactly the iconic looks. Also, the Aang one in particular is weird because that really should just be one skin, and there's no reason that it should not be. If Korra's frickin' two skins are one skin, there is no reason that that Aang should rather be uh, two skins. I know it's because they were a mini pass, but whatever. Also, I think canonically playing as Toph and wearing shoes is quite funny. Because realistically, she should be blind right now. Toph sees, quote unquote, through feet, through earthbending. If Toph was a character that was designed nowadays, she would 100% be hated. 100%. Just like, immediately people would just be like, oh, this is DEI, this is wokeness. Is a blind girl who's like the strongest like earthbender. What the fuck? That's so uncool. Meanwhile, Toph is the greatest character that's ever been put into fiction. This is Melon Lord, bitch. I may or may not include the previous segment of this episode because, you know, Windows had an issue with, you know, it updated, which meant my microphone was no longer working. Which is just such a lovely thing that happens every time I update. Every time Windows forces me to update, quote, like, in all honesty. Anytime it forces an update, it breaks my microphone in Streamlabs, and I have to fix it. Because, I don't know. Bill Gates hates me personally. Because this dude got divorced, and now he just is a misogynist. Where the fuck is my... Where is my buried treasure? Yar. Out-aimed by a blind person. Get got, bitch. Oh, that just reminds me of one of my favorite animation errors of all time. When they were initially animating Avatar, of course, most of it is done through, you know, third-party studios, namely in Korea. They don't know the plots, they just know, like, this is the task of what you need to do. They did not know that Toph was blind. So in the final battle, when Toph uses the metal bending that she has to like take down an entire like fleet of like Fire Nation airboat soldiers and captains, the suit that she makes out of like the metal door has eye holes in it. And as a kid, I never even blinked twice at that. I was just like, oh yeah, that's fine. And then now I'm just like, oh shit. They did that by mistake. But also at the same time, you can 100% explain that away by just Toph being a little shit and being like, well, might as well. Sokka would get confused otherwise. Oh yeah, there is a new Avatar series coming out, which, you know what that means? 20 more years of Avatar discourse. Let's go. Bring back the discourse. I believe their name was Vinyl Scratch. That's the discourse. That is... I think that cat classifies as a deep cut. Holy shit, Beth. Just made a My Little Pony reference in the year of our Lord, 2025. Excuse me, why are you in the train? You have never been in the train before. Alright, dickhead. I'll beat you to death with my bare hands. What do you want? We gave Toph the ability to bend water for 10 minutes, and this is what happened. I really wish that more collab skins had more like designs. I really wish that Blue Spirit Zuko was in this game, because, you know, the Blue Spirit is fucking awesome. And it's also a very important part of Zuko's story. I also wish that we got, like... I would have loved Fire Nation Aang. I would have loved Painted Lady Katara. Of course, we could... Melon Lord Toph. Just gotta add it. The greatest character ever. I hate that shotgun so much. And I also hate Mysterio. Fuck Spider-Man Far From Home. I applied for a remote job today. A couple jobs, in fact. Hopefully one reaches out, just, you know. It'd be nice to have more money. It would be nice to eventually be able to move out, but, you know. Wishful thinking and all that. But yeah, that aside, I think if we were to get additional skins for each character, honestly, I think Korra is fine as is. I think you could just split up her two looks into different styles, but I don't know why they didn't do that to begin with. It's kind of strange. But I think Korra is fine. Aang, I think, really should have gotten something more than what he did have. I would have loved if they gave him Fire Nation Aang because, you know, it's just like a really fun look for the character. And obviously, like, Blue Spirit, Zuko would have been frickin' amazing. I think Painted Lady Katara makes the most sense, even though people love, her Fire Nation design a lot. I think Toph could easily, like, Toph has a lot of looks because she is rich. Like, she has her dress, she has, like, she has her old, like, appearance from Korra as well. They could have done that. Could have given her, like, the metal armor, like, I don't know. And, you know, Sokka isn't in the game at all, which is a problem. Because that's my fucking boy. Adding in Team Avatar without Sokka is kind of crazy. And then Sokka has a bunch of outfits too, like, you know, his traditional, like, warrior outfit, his Fire Nation outfit. He also had, like, himself in drag several times. Love Sokka. God, I love Avatar: The Last Airbender. Korra I can take or leave, but I like Korra as a character. I think Korra herself is actually a very good character. I think Korra, the series, has a lot of issues that stem from external problems primarily. And I think, like, the live action stuff, garbage. So I think people should not have even hate watched the Netflix series, because, like, girls, if the creators didn't want shit to do with it and said it did not match their vision, why are you watching it? It's not even... if it doesn't match their vision, it's not Avatar. I don't know. And now we're getting another season, like another series, and in my head I'm just like, what, do we need to? And it sounds, the premise is not something that I'm very interested in, because the Avatar has turned from humanity's savior to its destroyer. Why, though? And also, it's just like, I don't know. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just, like, the fact that I have a lot of nostalgia for the original series. But I think almost everything Avatar that has come after the original series has done more damage than it has done good, outside of Korra as a character. And the best thing about Korra, the best thing that Korra did was not the show itself, it's the fact that it genuinely did. Korra was genuinely fucking massive for having the amount of LGBT rep that it did at the time. with however minimal it was, however pitiful it may seem looking back, that was a 100% huge back in the day, because that was before gay marriage was even legalized in the United States. Please remember that Five Nights at Freddy's is older than legal gay marriage in the US. No, no, don't go away. I need you. Also, Avatar is definitely one of those series where the community around it genuinely sours my opinion of this series. It's like, I loved Azula, I really did. I think that she is incredibly well written, and I think the character and how she is portrayed is incredible. I never want to hear another word about her in my entire life because people online are not normal. Like, I'm sorry to say this, but like, okay. Like, how do I say this? Azula is not irredeemable. She is a teenager. She has been conditioned her entire life by a society that basically rewarded her behavior, and her father, who essentially conditioned her to be a monster. And no, it is not impossible for her to become a better person, but part of her character and arc, and an important thing about real life is people cannot help you unless you want to be helped. And Azula is at a point where she is currently so far gone that she does not want to be helped. And it would take genuine years upon years of proper genuine therapy and shit to get to a point where she is back at a normal level, because she was robbed of a normal childhood. And so was Zuko, to be fair, but his situation was a lot different. A lot of people like to compare the treatment of Zuko and Azula, and who had it worse, quote unquote. It was Zuko. But, we don't... It's not fair to compare people's traumas. It was Zuko. Because everyone reacts to certain things in different ways, and everyone is... Just because one person suffers does not diminish the suffering of someone else. And even if someone at the time is in a position where it's you would think that they may be treated quote unquote well, but they're still being abused at the end of the day. That's the thing with Azula. She was still being abused at the end of the day, even though she was treated very well. It was a completely different circumstance. She was taken advantage of by people in positions of power that made her life amazing, frankly, but it molded her into a monster. All for the benefit of a sociopath. So she is very damaged. She is traumatized, but in a completely different and unique way to everyone else. So it is not fair to compare, you know, the characterizations and what certain characters went through. Also, from a storytelling perspective, you know, from the very beginning, Zuko was portrayed in a sympathetic light. And you saw cracks in them from the very beginning. Like, there is a genuine build-up and lead into Zuko's redemption. Azula is not there. The her arc, oddly enough, is about getting to her mental break. And, like, how the world around her essentially crumbles and how she crumbles along with it. So yeah, I don't know. People also glaze Azula a lot more than she frankly deserves. People have... The thing that I saw recently, though, was like... I was just like, no. Someone claimed that if Azula were in the right mind, she would have been able to beat Zuko. I don't think that's the case. I'm going to be completely honest. Because the fact is, it's just like, yes, Azula is very skilled, and yes, she was trained, but Zuko has more actual lived-in experience, has more actual technical skill. Azula was, you know, in Zuko's words, in referring to them being compared, was that Azula was born lucky, he was lucky to be born. Zuko actually has worked for every amount of power that he has. Meanwhile, Azula already had latent abilities inside of her. That was the thing. So, the difference in skill is honestly just like, you know. And also the fact is, like, Azula's real power came from the fact that she's an expert manipulator. More than anything else, she is a manipulator who is incredibly cunning and powerful. Good with words, good with convincing people of her actions, and good at using people for her own gain. In a one-on-one fight, that's less helpful. And you can tell that she had some qualms with one-on-one fights, because prior to the last Agni Kai, she had 2 bodyguards on hand the entire time as a way of essentially appearing stronger than she actually was. Ty Lee and Mai made any fight unfair because there was always someone waiting. And the thing is, with Azula being unhinged, she was letting out her full power. Like, that's the thing. None of it was being held back. Firebending comes from the emotions. It's energy, after all. And energy never dies, it just transforms. And because of that, it's like, yes, Zuko was in more control, but Azula was more powerful there than she ever was otherwise. People also argue, it's like, oh, Zuko would have lost if it weren't for Katara. If Katara wasn't there, he wouldn't have been gotten by the lightning to begin with. Like, I'm sorry, but that fight ends in a W for Zuko no matter what. I'm sorry.